is just after 4:30, September 17th, 2024. We're going to have a 30-minute work session here to discuss prioritization of park impact fees and remaining grant funds we have available. So we'll go ahead and begin that. At 5 p.m. we will begin our regularly scheduled meeting. Since the grant items are listed first in the packet, let's go ahead and talk through those first, and then we can talk park items. And I guess this does go hand in hand because there may be some crossover items that we want to discuss together. But, I think part of the purpose of this was just discussing our plan with the remainder of the ARPA funding, and then kind of how that ties into our plans with our park impact fee fund.
So I know I mentioned this 2 weeks ago when we discussed this, but I just want to bring it up again. I think we started these conversations, I want to say about a year and a half ago. I want to make sure we're clear that that last one, the fairgrounds electrical update, until a month ago had never been discussed. So I want to make sure that's clear for now. And that I know we talked about the Mountain Green Sewer Improvement District since the beginning. And then when we had discussions about 6 months ago, we also discussed, I know Commissioner Fackrell and I talked about it also with the water district, the possibility of a water district and how that would look, and a study to look into that. We at least talked about it. So I don't know
That
why
one's not on here,
that's
right?
not included either. And that's maybe a little bit more secondary, but I'm just, if I were to have typed up this spreadsheet, I wouldn't have shown the fairgrounds one at all because it was just brought up a month ago. I would have shown the sewer one to say, hey, we've talked about it, we've addressed it a few times. And then I do like the fact that 2 weeks ago, last meeting, we talked about the impact fees. So I think you're going to have the ability for the fairgrounds, for example. I'm not against spending money on the fairgrounds, by the way. I think it's a phenomenal idea and needed. But if we have impact fees that can also help out with that, where we don't have impact fees that can help out with the parcel fabric or with Mountain Green Sewer Improvement District ask, then we can definitely say, hey, we want to keep in mind for the next topic of impact fees that we have monies for that fairgrounds ask in the impact fees also. So I just kind of wanted to maybe start off with that.
So, not to derail from that, but the Morgan City Water Infrastructure Project, that has been, as I understand it, they're not moving forward with the project of that nature. So are we in agreement that we could just remove that one completely?
Yes.
So, if we removed that, that essentially, well, it was done. This total doesn't include that one and the Taggart River access improvements. If we were to do the Taggart River access improvements, our total available funds with everything that's on here, and we can talk about the fairgrounds electric update, would be $235,000. Does everybody agree with that math?
So you're saying that if we take out the 100,000,
So Morgan City Water Infrastructure and Taggart River access are not included in that total at the bottom. So if we do include Taggart River access, but we don't include Morgan City Water, then our total available funds is $235,000.
When you say this total, so this $2,174,503 doesn't include all of the amounts.
I'm sorry, this $2,019,000
okay.
doesn't include it.
Without
Does not
these
include
two.
Committed without these two.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
see.
don't know
All
why
right.
they didn't include those, but it wasn't included.
okay, so it does not include those two.
Correct.
Okay.
But I think we should include the one that we have approved. We don't yet have a final approval working on it, being the Taggart River access improvements.
Right.
The other one we can remove completely.
Which wouldn't
And
So
actually.
then
on
I
the
think-
GIS fabric parcel, did we do anything with that yet? Have we got that under contract? Do we know that
I
now?
thought- Yeah, we've signed the contract.
We
It's,
signed the
it's
contract.
underway.
So I know, again.
And we have the right total there.
Right. So, yeah, again, when we discuss that parcel fabric, we also discuss the Mountain Green ask. So I want to be careful that we've had the appearance of discussing items. Some of the items have just kind of moving forward, and the other items that we've discussed to say that we wanted to include have not. So I want to be consistent there. I guess for me, I would, just because it's been so late in the game, I would actually take out the fairgrounds electrical for now because it was just a month ago. I don't know why. Anyway, I'm just
I can
concerned.
agree. I can agree with taking that one out and using impact fees for that.
I actually was gonna suggest maybe a, maybe a partial.
Uh-huh.
Maybe we meet in the middle on that. And my thought was this, if we had, okay, let's assume we have 235 left, right? That's including the fairgrounds electric update. What if we take 200,000 of that, so we only take 125,000 from this, for the fairgrounds electrical? So we're leaving 200 here. So then we're back to 435, roughly. Everybody following the math?
Yeah.
So you're saying 435, because we're gonna take out the 100 from the water project, so that means we have 435, right? Because we have not
Yes.
spent the
Right.
100,000 for
Right.
If you did 125 for the fairgrounds electric.
Okay.
And where does 125 come from? You're just
I'm just
Just
I'm just
throwing it
picking
out
a
there.
number.
That's
Then we
fine.
have basically 435,000 left, and maybe we take a portion of that or all of that or whatever for that Mountain Green sewer project. And then the fairgrounds electrical, we're
Then-
taking 125 from here and the other
remaining out of the impact.
200-ish from the impact fees. And one of the reasons I am suggesting that is that if I look at the impact fees, regional park, we've got about 377,000 in our net balance there. So if we took the full amount from there, we'd basically drain it completely. And I know there's some other small projects that we'd like to do as part of that, or maybe some matching. We've got some matching on
And
our
just
trail projects.
so the public can hear also, and it's a reminder, but the regional park impact fee fund is for the fairgrounds park only because it's the only designated
Regional park.
regional park.
Correct.
Okay.
So, question I have on the regional park. Sorry I didn't get this to you sooner, but in the 2017 code amendment, and I can't find the exact wording, but it said there that they classified everything in the county as a part of the impact fee collection. So
Because
how
it's
do
a
we
regional.
designate which one is regional and which ones aren't?
So it's in the packet, but if you go to the last page of the impact fee for the parks,
Okay.
it'll actually tell you which ones they designated as regional and which ones they designated as community.
The last page of the.
It's at
this
that
one?
ordinance.
Yeah, I can.
The impact fee ordinance,
the ordinance.
that's CO 17-28.
So if you go to page 53 of 90 of your packet, that's
53?
the impact fee plan. So if you go to page 53, it literally says right there.
Yeah, existing park inventory and list the parks.
So regional parks, the only thing in regional parks is county fairgrounds. And then community parks is Kent Smith, Enterprise, Milton, Croydon Commons.
Which I think we brought up, one of our last discussions, that there's a park or two missing from that, correct? So at some point, we need to update that and add it.
So can I make a minor adjustment to what you were thinking?
Sure.
I think we've had multiple discussions with Mountain Green on the 300,000, and discuss that number. So if what you're saying is the one, if we say 300 to Mountain Green, do you want that remaining, whether it goes to fairgrounds or to, I know I'm looking over at Commissioner Wilson because he's our parks guy. I think there's many, many needs in those parks. I mean, starting with just irrigation, just to get some green grass out there. I know there's a lot of
I think there's
needs
plenty
there,
in the,
so-
in the community parks. I mean, there's a
To cover those
411,000 to cover those, so
So
I don't
once
know
we
if we
get
need to
there.
dedicate any of this to that, but yeah, I mean, that's maybe the thought. Maybe we do 300 to the sewer district, and then whatever's remaining can go towards that fairgrounds electrical project,
And-
which would be actually maybe about 225.
And I don't think we need to have them speak, but we have a chair and a board member here. I'm sure they'd be more than happy to accept as much as we want to. I just want to make sure and realize that the past 18 months we've discussed that number with them on multiple occasions. So
Well, and I'll also point out, we've already committed and given them 400,000 of this. We did assist with $1 million grant as well. So
agree.
definitely have helped the sewer district out.
And
But it sounds like we could still do that, still do all the projects we want to do. Like, I don't think there's a conflict if we go that route.
especially with the numbers we have in impact fees, and maybe, I don't know, maybe we just move forward quickly with the ARPA and then kind of focus on the impact, because I think the list is long with the impact fees,
But some of the regional, or not regional, the community
Community.
parks items are not, they're not $100,000 items. They're much smaller.
Much smaller.
But they're gonna take some funds to deal with. So.
So I know it's been interesting because I don't think we've really voted on the appropriation. We've discussed it, but yet we've had, for example, the GIS parcel fabric came through and talked to us about it, and then just, it was awarded. So I don't know if we officially.
Well, we did vote, I guess we did vote on the
on the
contract
agree-
for
on the
that, on the
contract.
agreement, but you're right, it shows we haven't voted on here. I thought we had. So maybe we need to get those on the agenda as action items and vote on them. So what I've heard here, make sure we're all on the same page. We're going to remove Morgan City water infrastructure from this completely. We're going to add the 300,000 to Mountain Green Sewer District, and then we're going to take the approximately 235,000 that's left over to go towards the fairgrounds electric update.
I would just add, can we move the 100 of that to the Taggart's improvements, and then 125 left over for the fairgrounds?
No, I think we'll have enough to do what I just said and still have the 100 for the taggers.
Okay.
But
We'll work that math out.
we'll work that
Just
math out and make sure. 'cause,
the remaining
So
for
we're
fairgrounds.
planning on still doing the Taggart River to access, that 100,000. We're removing Morgan City, we're adding 300 to Mountain Green Sewer, and we're taking whatever the remainder is towards the fairgrounds.
So, yeah, I can agree with that. The Taggart's River access improvements, did you say those are already being designed?
No, we haven't done any design. We need to do design. There's still some work to be done.
And then we did receive a request from a private vendor shareholder-owned water company. I think they heard about the funds that was going to the sewer district. I don't know if anybody responded to the email, but I think we can utilize it for privately owned entities, or I'm not inclined to.
And I think I would agree. I don't think the rules would allow us anyway, and I'd be concerned with.
There's a lot of
definitely
those,
not
that
enough to
opens
go
a
around.
big door, so.
Unfortunately, I know those small companies could probably use the help, but these are the best out. Okay, so we've got a plan on that, right? Everybody's good with that. On the.
So we'll need to, are we gonna formalize that with the resolution?
Yes.
Let's do that up for
Yeah.
resolution on the next meeting.
Next meeting. And then talking about impact fee items, I know Matt's been working on a list of items for the community parks. Brett's got a list of a few things that need to be done there too. I think we can get those lists compiled and then maybe bring that forward for some action to expend some of those funds.
Do you want me to forward that list to you guys, or do you want me to just?
I think that would be, yeah, if you want to share it with us, and then let's make sure we get the list that Brett had. I know he's got a few items on it. You know, he was talking about doing some of the, and we ought to talk, I guess, about where those funds should come from. You know, we talked about the trail at the Enterprise Park. I think that can actually come from a separate fund.
You could probably take part of it from transportation.
Yeah.
Because that is active transportation, so that plus that part of
Yeah, we would really need to show, with it being an impact fee, an upgrade to the facility, not a operational.
Well, he's saying
fee.
take it from active transportation, not from an impact fee.
no, take it from impact, because that is.
Oh, the
active.
transportation
Yes.
impact fee.
Yes,
Gotcha.
transportation
Which
impact
there's
fee.
$500,000 there.
Yeah, because you
Yeah,
can
you
do
just-
that with impact fees.
Yeah, what I've experienced is you almost have to say, so if the trail's existing and it's 4 feet wide, and you need maintenance on the trail, impact fees don't cover that. If we're widening it, which I think
And that's
Brett
what we
mentioned,
talked about, yeah.
then we need to really say, well, here's the difference between, here's what the upgrade of widening it would cost. An overlay on the entire trail, 4/6 of it would be existing operation and maintenance anyway, so.
Which would
We just
not
gotta
be
show
part
it.
of the impact.
So, yeah, and maybe we'll have to have some out of one and some out of another. That's a good point.
You have to show it, and you have to update your short-term capital facilities plan to include.
Good point. And I would imagine it's not included on the transportation, especially.
Unless we're done a long time ago, so it makes sense.
Well, if we have that list of projects, that would inform us on what plan we would like to invest in projects.
Jared didn't, or did Brett give a list yesterday of some of those projects? Maybe you can spread that to everybody.
Yeah, we can, but he'll need to update that. I don't think that was in that list.
Yeah.
I mean, I can tell you what they are pretty quickly. So in Mountain Green, they wanted soccer goals, the movable soccer goals. They need some serious help on the irrigation situation. I guess we also have a sprinkler box, or one of our irrigation boxes right in the middle of the field that a few kids have slipped on and fallen. Now they're marking it, but so we probably ought to see if we can move that from outside the field. And then some benches they had asked for. Enterprise, they needed some signage that's been ruined and torn down by kids. And then I don't know as far as the bark and stuff like that, I don't know if they've used rubber bark or what they've used, but
For the play area, the soft landing zone stuff.
and then
They do, I think they do use like rubber bark with the Enterprise. That's a classic term. Faux rubber bark, I guess.
shredded tires. And then Croydon, the half of basketball court and sprinkler system. And then Milton was the sprinkler system in the arenas. That's the list of it.
So I talked to Brett earlier this week, and he had mentioned the possibility of doing mag water in that arena to stop the dust. Said that they've used that in other arenas with pretty good success. It's fairly inexpensive. He seemed to think it'd be about $300 or $400 a year to do that. So I'm wondering if we ought to try that, see if it takes care of the problem, because I think it'd be less costly and less maintenance than a sprinkler system if we just do the mag water and it keeps the dust in.
Do what?
It's mag chloride
Oh.
water, like they put on dirt roads to
what,
keep
yeah.
the, yeah. But he says they do it in arenas and it works pretty well.
But we'd still need a sprinkler system for the grass there, correct?
No, it has a sprinkler
It has
system.
for the grass. Yeah, it was just the arena we were talking about. Okay. So anyway, I don't know what your thoughts are, but my thought was, well, maybe we try it. see what happens. If it doesn't keep the dust down, let's go the other route and put a system in. I think one of the concerns is with arenas, you run it too long or too little or whatever, you know what I mean? It can be an issue, so.
I thought that, I've only seen that used on roads, and I thought it
Hacks it
hardened
down.
the surface,
That's
which
what I
would make
thought,
it,
too.
from my
He said
perspective.
they could do it on arenas, and he's seen it done, so.
And he's the
He
rodeo
did say
person.
the issue that they have, and the reason that we haven't done it on our arena at the fairgrounds is that it can cause the soil to retain water a little longer, and sometimes that creates more of a muddy situation. And so when you're doing like competitions and stuff, that can be a problem, because you want to get the soil just right, you don't want it too wet. But his thought was, for this, it's a practice arena, it's not like they do competitions there, if it's too muddy, you just have to delay your practice a day or so.
I guess my only thought is this has been a complaint for like 5 years now. Why haven't we done it if it works? For $300 a year.
Yeah, that's a great question. No, I think let's try it, see what happens.
Yeah, I
And
think
if
he
it
can
doesn't
try
resolve
it.
it.
He can try it at any time. The Mag Water roads I've driven on, I'm agreeing with Commissioner McCall. It hardens it, so I'm not sure what kind of reaction it would have. So
Brent seemed to think it would work, and I'm not an expert in rodeos or arenas, so.
Neither.
or Mag Water.
Or mag water. Or sprinkler systems for arenas, for that matter. So, anyway.
So it sounds like we could probably get a bid then on the sprinkler systems for both Kent Smith and Croydon.
And you got an initial
I've got the bid, I've got bid on that.
Oh, great.
Croydon, Milton, I didn't, Kent Smith.
So my guess is all of those combined, you're probably going to be less than 1,000,
Oh,
right? So there's
I think
plenty
between
in
the
there
two,
to do
it's
that.
like 18, so.
I don't know why we don't do that immediately.
We probably ought to get on all of those.
I thought one of the bids you showed us was 122,000 for the Croydon area. I say I thought one of the bids was 123,000.
No, it was like 18, I think.
Well, there was one that was 18, and then there was another 123. Just questioning.
I thought it was 6 or 7.
That's all it was, yeah.
But
I
we can
didn't
go
see
look at
that
them
one.
again.
We can look at
Obviously, we're gonna have to get 3 bids on them anyway if we can. Given that they're over 5,000. Okay. Are there any other items that any of you are aware of that are needed in any of these facilities?
What about the fairgrounds benches, stadium? We could let's still work on that safety problem.
We still need to get working on that. That's been a tough one because Brett's had a hard time getting bids. There's just not a lot of companies that do bleacher work and want to do bleacher work. He did get one bid, but I'd asked him to get a bid to include backstops underneath all of them so the kids couldn't fall down.
Right.
And the bid only included repairing that one set of bleachers that has a really narrow section B, if you know what I'm talking about over there.
I do.
And then the one section that's wood on the far side, which is section 11 wood.
So can we determine whether or not we can purchase new bleachers versus repairing those?
We
What
can
the
look at that.
difference
New
is?
bleachers are really expensive.
That might be worth a look at.
When the school did the new bleachers for the football stadium on the one side, and we got their old bleachers and put them at the fairgrounds, they spent well over $1 million on that set of bleachers. So they're not cheap. We could get a bid though for those sections. I mean, it's really only a few sections that need replacement. Everything else is really in good shape. So,
Could we go out for some grants possibly with the safety
I'm sure we can look into it.
aspects of it?
And maybe we ought to have Haley look into that as our. I'll task her with looking into that. Good point.
Kate still sick or that?
Yes, sir. I'll make a note.
She is listening online though, and if you have a question, she could probably get to answer it online if needed.
Okay, any other items you guys are aware of that we need to?
No, I'll reiterate just what I said a couple weeks ago with the Milton Park. Was raised in the area, so I have always enjoyed that little park. But I want to make sure, as we're looking at parks and we have impact fees, that and I don't know, maybe it's not an upgrade. I don't know if asphalting that parking area to be able to park on asphalt would be an improvement or upgrade, or how that would look. I definitely think both, and I don't know how Croydon looks as far as parking is concerned. I don't. It's not.
There's
that we,
not much it's all road parking, so there's
It's not that we have. I have never had residents complain about it, but I just want to be careful if we're upgrading the existing parking at Enterprise and we've got a nice parking lot. Well, we have other parks also, so just want
That's a
to make
good
sure
point. I mean,
we
it's
include
probably
that.
worth getting a bid at least.
Yeah.
See what it'll take. Do you think there'd be any issue with drainage there? I mean, I guess it'd just drain off into the grass probably.
That'd be my guess. Yeah. I don't know.
It's not just slightly towards the
Yeah,
grass.
it's lower than the
It's a lot
road.
less
So,
than that. Okay. Well, let's put that on the list to find out what it cost. Okay, cool. All right, we got about 2 minutes left. Is there anything else you'd like to discuss as part of the work session? All right, if not, we'll adjourn our work session. Give about a 2-minute break before the beginning of our regularly scheduled meeting. Thank you.
Here's the signature.
Thank you.
I'm sure it's $100 bill or something.
That's great. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're going to go ahead and begin our meeting here. They're working on, okay. Well, we've got a few minutes before we get to that, so I think we can begin and we'll, before that presentation. All right. Welcome to the Morgan County Commission meeting. Today is September 17th, 2024. All members of the commission are present. Appreciate the attendance of those here in person and those joining us online. And we'll just remind you that all of our meetings are streamed on YouTube. If you just search Morgan County Commission meetings, it'll pop up. You can also watch our Planning Commission meetings via YouTube as well. We will begin this evening with an invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance, and Commissioner Anderson will lead that.
Heavenly Father, we're grateful for this, evening, grateful for the opportunity we have as county residents to meet and discuss county items. We're grateful for the weather that we're receiving, grateful for the rains that have come, and much needed water for this area, for the Great Salt Lake, for the entire state. We're grateful for the weather that we've received. Grateful for this legislative process, grateful for the founding fathers, for the freedoms that we currently enjoy, for those that have served our country so that we can enjoy those freedoms today. Grateful for our county staff, grateful for those that have given their time and a lot of times their own personal time to help the county to move forward and to do little extra in the jobs that they have. Grateful for this beautiful valley that we live in, the residents that are here, and the great camaraderie we have in this county. And say these things and grateful for all our blessings we receive, and do so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Please arise and repeat the Pledge of Allegiance after me.
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Anderson. We do not have any consent agenda items this evening. Are there any conflicts of interest with any commissioners on tonight's agenda items? Seeing none, we will move to our public comment period. This is an opportunity for the public to address the commission. Please come forward and state your name if you'd like to address us, and we'd ask that you take no longer than 3 minutes.
All right, so this is my first public comment since I started at the county. But today is September 17th, and it's actually Constitution Day. So 237 years ago, the founders concluded the Constitutional Convention and signed the Constitution that we have. It would take a few more years before the Bill of Rights was presented to the states for ratification as well. But I just wanted to express my gratitude to the founders. I loved Commissioner Anderson's prayer, expressing gratitude for that as well, because I think we wouldn't be here and definitely not have the freedoms and privileges that we have without that. And I've had a pretty positive day, and I've tried to keep a good attitude, and I think part of it is just feeling some gratitude specifically to James Madison, who was my age when over fall, winter, and then into spring, he read over 200 books in 6 different languages and drafted the Virginia Plan that was the working document for the going into the Constitutional Convention. And so when I think about the brilliance that would take, and the commitment and dedication, understanding of all the political philosophers that had come before and a study of all the governments and how they functioned. I think that that's really exciting, and it's really eye-opening to think that he had the ability to do that. Lastly, I guess just keeping in mind that a lot of those, the Constitutional Convention, there was a lot of high points, low points, emotions, passion, disagreements, but there was a lot of compromise. And I think that without all of those things that hopefully we employ as a commission and as a county on a daily and weekly basis, they wouldn't have succeeded. And I think that those are all good things that we can reflect upon and try to employ as we do our best to support our community. Oh, Garrett Smith, and I live in Morgan City. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Good evening, Bill Coots, representing the Mountain Green Sewer Improvement District. I too would like to continue the theme of gratitude. We are very thankful for what the board has done for us, the commissioners have done for us as far as allotting ARPA money to us and helping us with the sewer expansion project. Over in Mountain Green, it's a $28 million project, so all the money we can get is greatly appreciated. We are well on our way to finishing by probably fall of next year, ahead of schedule. The external buildings should all be pretty much done by October of this year, and then that will allow us to continue with the inside construction of the remaining buildings. So again, just thank you for what you do, and thank you for how you have helped the Mountain Green Sewer Improvement District with our building expansion.
Thank you. Okay, seeing no additional public comment, we will move to our presentations, and we have two this evening. We're very pleased to have representatives from the Morgan Valley Arts Council here. Lisa Largent-Wright, President, is going to make a presentation.
So we are going to be continuing the theme of gratitude as well. I'm Lisa Largent-Wright with the Morgan Valley Arts Council, and I would like, these are a few of the leadership of the council who are here and some of the art leaders in the county, and I want them to come and introduce themselves very briefly and what they do with us.
Good evening, I'm Emily Pfeiffer, and I'm the conductor of the Morgan Valley Chamber Singers. We've produced Lamb of God and Messiah over the past few years, and on the council I've been serving as the person over productions.
I'm Shuri Dickey, the president and co-producer of the Morgan Valley Chamber Singers.
I'm Emily Hill, and I am a new recruit working with Lisa on advertising and the website and graphic arts and stuff.
I'm Steve Kerrigan, and you kids were all late for class.
There's probably some truth to that, at least at one point.
I work with the Arts Council because I'm the president of the Morgan Community Choir, and we're working with these individuals too.
And I'm Kelly Wright. I'm on the board as well with the governmental affairs, so you may see me from time to time. But what's that? Yeah, because it's a
Might
great
be because he
team.
knows a thing or two about governmental affairs.
And have you all heard him play the flute?
Yes.
Need we say more? He should be on the Arts Council. Thank you to the members of the Morgan County Commission for approving the acquisition of the seated coral risers for different community organizations to use. Thank you, Matt Wilson, Commissioner Wilson, for working on the procurement of these very valuable risers and also the procurement of the storage trailer, which has turned out to be an awesome way to handle those risers. Penny Butler helped us work through all the paperwork and the finances, and the help of the county maintenance workers who had the task of receiving the several hundreds of pounds of risers, moving them to where they needed to go, unloading them, and then helping them get to where they needed to go, along with Commissioner Wilson and a couple of volunteers from the Morgan Valley Arts Council. Morgan Valley Arts Council's 2023 production of Lamb of God was the very first use of these incredible risers. And I want you to know that those risers made all the difference in the world of many individuals being able to sing in this choir and be able to participate in a production that is moving and stirring, not only for the audience members, but for the 150 participants from the county that are involved with Lamb of God every year. The music is stirring and it's incredible, but it's very hard to stand for over an hour and sing or be quiet while soloists and things sing, and a lot of people would not have been able to do it without these risers. In addition, this spring to the use in Lamb of God, the Morgan Community Choir has also been using the choral risers, and especially for their 25th anniversary concert. And I think that's so incredible that we've had this great community asset for the last 25 years. I want to just briefly play a little bit of the concert. This is not going to be one of the best qualities because I snagged it from my daughter-in-law, who was sitting kind of close. And the unfortunate thing is you can't see the risers very well from there. And if the risers are working well, you don't see how important they are to the choir when you're sitting in the audience. And I want you to hear, hopefully you can hear it, the quality of the music and of the quality of the production. This is very short, so that you can see what. If you think that sounds nice, you have got to come to a production. And I'm going to give you that great opportunity because just today, after a month of working through scheduling and challenges with the only facility within the county that can hold a program such as this, we have finally gotten the clearance to be able to do Messiah on December 1st at Morgan High School in the auditorium again. So you are all invited. Because we didn't have everything firmed up until today, I don't have an actual formal invitation for you, but I hope that you will all come and be our special guests. We'll have reserved seating for you and your family members, and I will bring by written invitations in the next few weeks. But everyone in the room, put that on your calendar. December 1st, which is a Sunday evening, it's a great time to start off the most beautiful season of the year with probably one of the most powerful and beautiful oratorios that's ever been written in honor of that season. And thank you so very much. And I appreciate these people are making things happen. And I also want to mention Robert McConnell, who is one of the leaders also in the choir and who sings both in the choir that does these productions and the community choir, is such an important part of the Morgan Valley Arts community, and we appreciate Commissioner McConnell so much. And Michael Newton If you ever want to come back to piano lessons, you know where to find me, young man. So.
I don't think
I
any
probably should.
Yeah, we don't want to hear that. I think we're okay.
Okay.
On that note, though, I want to share, I think it's wonderful that you and Mr. Kerrigan back behind you and many others have shared with the youth of our community over the many years the importance of the arts. And all of you do that, obviously, but the two of you specifically for me personally. And I really appreciate that. And the arts are so important. We're, as a county, proud to support the arts in the community. We hope it will continue. Please come back another time when there's other needs, because we are invested in this and we wanted to see it continue.
That's awesome. I want you to be aware, too, the Morgan Valley Arts Council is not going to go anywhere. We are determined to make it succeed. We've had some birthing pains that have come along the way, and these two productions have been such a standard production, but we are in the process of expanding that, of working with the Utah Division of Arts and Museums on funding for building our organization and expanding it and being able to tie in. We have so many people within this community that need support from an organization such as this and recognition as well. And we are so excited to be here and be doing that. And we are going to take you up on that offer to come back and see you again. So
Please do.
Plan on it. Thank you.
And
And-
I wanted to say too, because I can't take any credit for, Lisa did all the work on all that stuff. All I did was bring what she told me to, like Kelly does. She did all the work, and I went to the production with my family 2 years ago, and it was just amazing. It was.
So while you have your calendars out, December 9th is when the community choir will do their concert. That's a Monday evening.
Do you know what? Thank you so much for including that. That's right. The December 9th is the community choir's concert. And that's such a fun concert. A lot of different styles and varieties, and they've been doing such a great job for many years. And I'm sure you're planning on using those seated risers, right? Yes. We hope so. All right. So that's right.
Oh yeah, I'm sure we could get that. That's not. Okay.
I will also say that if you think you can see what Emily wants from behind, which I can tell just by watching her conduct, even from behind, if you watch her from the choir side, there'll be no doubt in your mind what she wants you to do as a performer. She's really terrific at it.
She is a treasure in this community, and at some point I'd like to come back when we come back and talk a little bit more about needs and requests. I'd like to bring Emily with us so that you understand what an immense treasure we have with Emily Pfeiffer in this community, and the skills and the level of excellence that she brings to everything she does. And she really has kind of coalesced all of this into making it happen and bringing people together and making these two wonderful productions happen. And we are excited for the future because I hope you will be seeing really great things to come.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.
I want you to know, in 1999, when the choir was started, they allowed us to use this room as our first meeting place. The library was transferred over. It had a linoleum floor. It echoed like crazy, but we had a place to live.
Thank you. That's awesome. Well, thank you again. We appreciate it. We will move to our second presentation. This is from our library director regarding giving an update on the summer reading program. Aaron, take it away.
All right. I am really excited tonight to have the opportunity to talk to you a little bit about what we've been working on in the library. You recently had the opportunity to review several of our policies and our strategic plan. So my approach tonight was to really just kind of highlight a few of the things that we've been doing to reach those goals that we outlined in our strategic plan. I've got with me tonight Elisa Rose, who's the assistant director and our children's librarian. And between the two of us, we could talk about libraries for hours. So I will try really hard not to do that and jump right in. Let's see. Oh, Katie, this isn't working. Let's see. Disconnect. Oh.
Oh,
Here he
here he
comes.
comes. Thank you.
Oh,
Point the
point
clicker
at
at
the
the
computer?
There you go.
No. Okay. All right. So I just wanted to point out that in everything we do, we try to start with our mission, which is to serve all Morgan County residents and to provide access to resources that they want and need. It would be really tempting as a library to think about what would be easy for us or what would be cool or what are other libraries doing. But we really try to keep the Morgan County Library anchored in Morgan and be responsive to the needs of our community. Whoops. When you think about a library, the first thing you think about is books, which is great because we love books. So one of the primary ways that we meet the needs of our community is by providing a collection. We strive to have a diverse collection of print and digital titles to meet the interest of every reader. We have over 41,000 physical titles in our collection, and your Morgan County Library card gives you access to another over 407,000 titles through digital resources. Oh, Morgan County Library residents also have access to the Interlibrary Loan Program, which is through the Utah State Library. Basically, that allows library card holders to request a title, any title, and we will search throughout the country among all participating libraries to get it for them and get it sent to Morgan free of charge. We processed over 694 interlibrary loan requests in 2023, and we are on pace to do even more this year. So we're grateful that our patrons have discovered this resource and are taking full advantage of it. A Morgan County Library card does give you access to a variety of digital resources and databases, as I pointed out, and I especially want to highlight Libby that we encourage our patrons to use. It's fantastic. If you haven't used it, you should try it. We constantly track data and we analyze trends to make sure that we're adapting to changing needs. So on this slide, this is just an example of the kind of thing that we would look at. You can see that digital downloads are ticking steadily upwards. And as more and more people read digitally, it makes sense that physical circulations are ticking slowly downwards. Now, we're not worried at this point that digital is going to outpace print quite yet, but it is something that we watch, and that kind of information is really helpful as we allocate budget resources. As much as we love our books, modern libraries offer a variety of things other than books, and we are slowly building our library of things. We have a lot of fun things that are available in the library, and by far the most popular would be the mobile hotspots. Our mobile hotspots are in constant circulation. They are used by a wide variety of patrons for a wide variety of uses, and we get lots of really good feedback. We're grateful to be able to provide that resource. Okay, in addition to our catalog, we work to facilitate lifelong learning and community engagement through our programming. programming is where we really shine, and it's also where we really have a lot of fun. Of course, children's programming is our bread and butter. Elisa does a fantastic job of creating children's programming that is engaging and that it encourages development of literacy skills. Tween programming. So kids go through kind of a transition around 3rd grade where they move from learning to read to reading to learn, and they learn really fast. And so we are trying to take advantage of that by providing lots of opportunities for engaging educational programming for that age group. We have Tinker Club, where they explore STEM concepts, Lego Club, Tween Craft Club, Tween Book Club, all kinds of fun things for kids between the ages of about 8 and 12. Teen programming. So teen programming is an area where I would like us to get a little bit stronger. We've had some hits and some misses over the years. But what we find consistently is that what teenagers want more than anything is just some place to hang out with their friends. On any given Tuesday afternoon, any day after school in the library, you are very likely to find a group of kids in the teen room watching YouTube videos, another group of kids playing video games on the public computers, maybe kids playing board games in the corner, some kids working on homework over there, kids looking at books, teenagers all over the library. There are not very many places in Morgan County where kids can go to just hang out, especially without the expectation of spending any money. So that's a unique need that we can fill. Sometimes they do get a little bit rowdy, and sometimes I do have to become a stereotypical librarian and I go around shushing them. But for the most part, we are really happy and proud to be able to create a welcoming environment where teenagers are encouraged. Programming for adults. We've had some great experiences with programming for adults over the last couple of years. In 2023, we applied for a grant through the Utah Division of Arts and Museums to participate in their Creative Aging program. And this is where we would use grant dollars to provide a series of art classes for patrons over the age of 55. I advertised for that class one time. I put it on Morgan Moms, and instantly the class was full and we had a wait list. We held the series of classes, they were very well received, and patrons were begging us to do it again. So again, this spring, we applied for the same grant, we received it, we ran the same class with the same results. People loved it. It was a wonderful experience. And this showed us that there was clearly an interest in more adult programming. Since recognizing this, we've begun to expand our offerings to adults, and we plan to continue to do so. Family programming. We love family programming. Again, it's great to provide something fun that people can do in the Valley for free. So we've had movie nights, indoors and outdoors. The Paper Airplane Challenge had a STEM component because they had to figure out the physics of why their planes weren't flying as far as they wanted them to. And the escape room was really, really cool. This picture does not do it justice. We turned off all the lights and lit the room with just Coleman lanterns, and groups had to go in and solve puzzles and crack codes and try and find their way out of the escape room. So we're really trying to offer innovative things that people can do here at home. Holiday programming. We have some great holiday programming traditions at the library that are a lot of fun. We have already this year had patrons calling and asking us what day we will be doing our trick-or-treating because they're looking forward to it. Also, selfishly, I wanted to include this slide because I have mentioned that we could benefit from more space, and this shows you what I'm talking about. Christmas as well, lots of fun. So programming stats. We can't go back too far with programming stats because we run into COVID years and that messed all of our numbers up. But you can see from here that we not only improved between 2022 and 2023, we increased the number of programs that we were holding and the number of attendees at our programs, but we also increased the average number of attendees at each program. So in 2022, we were getting an average of 24 people at each program. In 2023, we got an average of 30 people at each program. So even though we were doing more, we were getting more people coming. And why does this matter? Because each one of those numbers is a person. And the more people that we can get to take advantage of resources from the Morgan County Library, the better return on investment the community is getting for their library tax dollars. All right, our biggest program of the year absolutely is summer reading. And this is Elisa's baby, and she deserves full credit for this. Our summer reading program is a huge success. This is a picture on the right of our 2023 summer reading kickoff at the Riverside Park. It was impossible to get an accurate head count of people that were there that day, but we feel really safe with our conservative estimate of at least 850 people who came to that one program alone. Our stats for this year, summer reading runs through June and July. So it goes June 1st through July 31st. And these are the numbers that we had over the course of those 9 weeks. I would like to highlight just a couple of them. The prizes given, 2,856 prizes given. In order to earn a prize, you have to read at least 120 minutes. So that represents a total of at least 342,720 minutes read by our patrons that participated in this program during June and July. The original purpose of summer reading was to avoid summer slide, which is where kids, they end the school year strong and then they lose skills over the course of the summer and have to start over relearning in the fall. And this is an effort to avoid that. So that 342,000 minutes will go a long way to avoiding the summer slide. I'd also like to point out the library visits. We had over 10,000 patrons in June and July, which averages out to approximately 27 patrons every hour the library is open. Obviously, that's a ballpark. You know, during a program we had more, sometimes it was slower. But I have to tell you, 27 patrons an hour feels about right. We are busy in June and July, and we are tired at the end of it, but we wouldn't have it any other way. We're really excited and grateful that the community has been so supportive of our summer reading program, and we've had great feedback from parents about how much it's helped their children and helped their children have the opportunity to learn to read for fun. Milestones. So we were designated last year a quality library. This is a designation that is awarded by the Utah State Library to libraries that not only meet minimum certification requirements, but that go above and beyond in service to their patrons. So when I took over as director in 2020, it was my goal to be designated a quality library within 5 years. We made it within 3. We received this award based on our website updates, our story walk at the Riverside Park, and our all-around innovative programming. The reason I set this goal is because I genuinely believe that Morgan County deserves a quality library, and I knew that we had the staff that could make it happen. It was absolutely a team effort, so I'm really proud of this. We are eligible also to receive this year, and I will find out next week whether or not we do, so fingers crossed. Okay. In addition to our collection and our programs, one of the biggest services that we offer to residents of Morgan County is our actual physical building. As you know, there's a finite amount of gathering space and meeting space. So with the Historical Society moving over to the Depot building this year, that gave the library the opportunity to create 2 new community meeting rooms that are used on a daily basis. And in addition to the meeting rooms, the relocation also gave us room to create a makerspace. And that's what you see on the right. A makerspace is a lab of sorts it has low-tech and high-tech equipment, and it's intended to encourage experimentation, creativity, and collaboration. We received a grant to buy the equipment and the materials that were in the makerspace, including the 3D printer. And now we are working on making that space available to the public in a way that is safe to the people and safe to the equipment, which has proven a little bit more challenging than we originally anticipated. But I'm excited. As of just yesterday, we have partnered with the STEM Center of Utah, which is a sister organization to the Utah State Library, and they have committed to sending volunteers and resources to help us do some programming and some staff training. So we should be able to get that up and running within the next few weeks. And that is one of our goals. So we have lots of goals and lots of ideas, but what we are working on primarily right now is opening up that makerspace to the public. We've talked a lot about capital improvements, or at least a little about capital improvements, and we'd really like to develop a plan with the library board and with the commission's input so that we can make sure that we're looking forward at building maintenance and at any changes and prioritizing those correctly and budgeting for those correctly. And then we'd like to expand outreach to other residents in other parts of the county, which goes back to our mission to serve all Morgan County residents, not just those who happen to live close to the library. Okay, bear with me. I couldn't edit everything. Things I didn't talk about. I didn't talk about how we've updated our website and expanded our social media presence, so feel free to follow us. Community partnerships. We have increased our community partnerships significantly to minimize spending and maximize impact. Story Walk. We have had such a great response to our Story Walk, and surprising to us, not from children, from adults and especially senior citizens who love to read the stories as they take a walk. We have taken better advantage of state resources and training opportunities. We have increased our outreach to schools. We've met with school librarians to make sure that we're partnering with them and that we're a resource to them. We have field trips for the 3rd grade, regular preschool field trips, and special education field trips. We have added some basic hardware and software to improve functionality for our patrons. Building changes. I mentioned the Historical Society a little bit, but that has been a huge project, and it has been a really good thing. If you remember, in the last few years, they were dealing with an average of maybe 50 to 100 patrons a year that they were serving. This year, since moving into the building in, I believe, February, they have seen over 700 patrons inside the building, not counting the thousands of people who came through during the Front Street Festival and the 4th of July. So taking those out just during normal business hours, over 700 people. So that's fantastic for them, and it's absolutely achieved what we hoped, which was, significantly increasing the public's awareness of the Historical Society and of their services. And the bears are coming. We have bears and we have holes, so any day now we expect them to be put in. Building use, over 30,000 people have used the building so far. And of course, none of this would be possible without an outstanding staff and the support of our library board. And we really do have an excellent team. I am grateful for their hard work, and I am honored to be able to associate with them. They truly love this community, and they work hard to serve us. But we would like to invite you to see some of these things for yourself. Because September is Library Card Sign-Up Month, we thought it only appropriate that we create library cards for all of the commissioners. So there's one for you, and one for you,
Thank you very much.
one for you,
Thank you.
and one for you. And I would like to note that Jared already had one, so you get a candy bar.
It pays to.
Pays to have a library
Right.
card. And on that note, that is everything I've got. Do you have any questions for us?
This is wonderful. Thank you for the presentation, and more than that, thank you for all the work that's happening over there. And please relay that to your staff and those who work in the building over there. I know that there's a lot of people that spend an awful lot of time to make this happen. It doesn't happen on its own. So clearly a lot of wonderful work and a lot of effort has gone into creating a program that really benefits our community. So thank you.
Thank you.
So I want to make a comment real quick, Chair Newton. Just amazing work, like Erin has said, but I want to add, with her enthusiasm, maybe we could have her sell more things in the library. So maybe if opportunities come up, she can say, hey, you want to, presentations for us. So it was just a great presentation. Thank you for the excitement behind it.
Thank
Extremely
you.
well done. Comments, commissioners, or questions?
No, just thank you.
Thanks again. Appreciate it. Man, we've had a couple of awesome presentations. We just ended, oh no. All right, let's get into our action items. We'll start with action item F1. Deputy Attorney Janet. This is regarding the Morgan County Homesteader Tax Credit, application process that we spoke about this, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, or maybe it was a month ago.
I think it was 2 weeks ago, and I wasn't present. I did overhear a little bit talking about drafting an ordinance in order to, enact it. I think the better idea is to do a resolution. I don't think we need an ordinance. Right now, you have the power to do this anyway, because it's a statutory, it's a statute that allows you guys to do it. I think a resolution's more flexible in as far as the standards you're adopting. And so that's how we put it together in the application, and then the notice forms that are attached. I believe that in the initial documents that you saw, the cap wasn't the current state tax year cap, and so Penny adjusted that. And then in the form, the criteria approval denial form, I based it on the current state circuit breaker credit. So that should update every year without us having to come back in and amend this. And then also just having some further circumstances, I think it gives you a little more discretion as far as if you have someone that's $1 over, or someone who wins the Idaho lottery and you want to deny it. So.
I like this. I think it's a great idea. Thank you for the effort that's gone into it. I'm happy with the criteria myself. Commissioners, do you have any thoughts or comments on the criteria that's been outlined here? Does everybody understand the process? So essentially, as I understand it, Janet, correct me if I'm wrong here, resident would come in, pick up the application, fill it out. They would then submit it to be on a county commission meeting. We'd review it, and if it fits the criteria, approve that credit, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
And that's just done anonymously? Or is that done?
No, I think it's done on the public record, so it would be known.
Yes, because it does have to be posted. Any action approval that you do, we'll have to post that within 10 days for the public, and then at the end of the month in which you make the action, it needs to be sent to the state tax commission.
I only had one question as far as maybe some clarification on the property owner provides their own financial support. What if you have a person, say my mother, and I needed to help her with her finances to even help her meet her bills? How does that work then?
I think then she isn't providing for her own support totally. In looking at some of the other, and I don't know, I can't off the top of my head remember where this is, but when someone's receiving outside support from someone else, I don't know that that would qualify. I guess it's something that again, this is the commission's discretion.
It
and
just
so
seems
it's
like they're
something-
even poorer than a person that would be making it.
Correct. Yeah, so again, this is your discretion.
Well, maybe the argument could be made, what constitutes financial support? Because if you're helping, a parent, I don't know, pay a bill once in a while, or with something, I don't know that it's financial support when you're not like every month, providing an exact amount or something like that. To me, that's not necessarily financial support, and I think it's totally fine for somebody to help somebody, and to apply for that if that.
Is this criteria taken from the statute?
It is not. If you look at the statute, the criteria that they set forth is you need to have a description of the property, value of the property for the current year, the amount of delinquent taxes, interest, and penalties, and then any other information required by the county. These are criteria that Penny and Janelle came up with that made sense, according to them and what they're seeing as individuals they've seen in Morgan County that they've identified that should be allowed this type of credit. We've also limited it in that if you look at the state code, you can do deferrals rather than just a credit, and we've eliminated that from these standards as well.
So, what does it mean to be in good standing with the county?
That's a great question.
I assumed that meant that they were current on their taxes. That's what I assumed.
Or their garbage bill or whatever.
But then it does ask on the form about delinquent taxes, any delinquent taxes they have.
Correct. Now, you guys are allowed under the statute to do retroactive. And so I did note that that's kind of contradictory if you're in good standing, but you're delinquent. How can you be both? But I think that also incorporates the fact that you guys can look back and do a retroactive credit previous years.
Well, these are people who lived in the same home for 25 years, so you could probably look back and say, well, it's not like when they were working, you know, maybe they're retired now, but when they were working, they were paying their taxes. And they've been in good standing, they're just gotten behind.
I actually
Tends
think
to
you
hold
could
on.
delete 6 and 7.
I'm totally fine with that.
Because we provide for our own financial support, or in whole or in part, but really the issue is the household income $50,000 or less, from my perspective. And then good standing is a technical term with respect to entities and their status with respect to the division of corporations. I don't think it applies to individuals. If we wanted a specific criteria that pertained to whether they were current in the payment of taxes or something like that, I guess we could consider it. But I frankly think the first 5 meet what I would be interested in seeing them meet in terms of qualification.
Yeah, I'd be good with that.
I would be fine with that too. It sounds like we have a lot of latitude anyway that way, but I think I agree, those are the things that I personally would look at. I would delete the one that I had a concern on.
That's good.
So
Make
you're
those
talking
adjustments.
about deleting the property owners in good standing with the county. Is that the only one?
Yeah, either that or you have to define what
Saying
good
the
standing
own
means.
financial support.
6
Well,
and
you were
7.
You're saying everything below it, right? So if
A
they're on
3-year
financial
look back?
support, were you suggesting to delete the 3-year look back?
No, so I'm on this 6 and 7. So 6 and 7
Oh,
in the application for homesteaders credit.
Oh, I
So-
was counting the,
yeah, I was looking at the
At
approval
the,
public
other-
notice item.
Oh, you're up there in the resolution?
yeah.
So we probably need to delete it from both, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that, because it sounds like this is something we can discuss as a commission at the time of and I don't see that any of them would keep a person from applying. That would be my only concern, is if they felt like, oh, I don't meet this, I'm not going to apply it at all.
Okay. Any other comments or thoughts before we look for a motion on this item? I think those could be, rather than bringing it back, unless somebody disagrees strongly, I think we can just make a motion to remove those and vote on this item.
Okay, since I don't know where Robert's looking, I'll let him make that motion.
So I'll just note just a couple of things on formatting with the resolution. We have section 1, section 2, and then we do 1, 2, A through E, and 3, and then we skip to section 5.
Yeah. So basically, there's only
So we missed section 3 and
3,
4.
4.
And then I would just do the indentation consistently through the form. But those are just technical things we can clean up before we sign the resolution. So I'll make a motion that we approve resolution CR-24-
7-7.
Was number
7,
3
7?
supposed to be section 3?
I think section 5 should be section 3, and section 6 should be section 4.
Okay.
I cannot edit my own documents.
Okay. Resolution CR-24-77, a resolution of the County Commission Morgan County, Utah, approving criteria for the homesteader's credit with the technical corrections we've discussed to the form and the deletion of the qualification requirements 6 and 7 being the qualification that they provide for their own financial support and are in good standing with the county.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Janet, thank you for your work on that. Okay, Garrett.
Honorable.
Honorable Garrett, this is a discussion about the agreement between Morgan County and Barefoot Tubing for the use of the space they're using in the fairgrounds area.
We do have the owner, the current owner of Barefoot Tubing online as well. He is not in the state, and so he's just going to join remotely for the discussion here. This is the agreement that was done with Kyle Hooker, who was the former owner of Barefoot Tubing. I thought it would be good perhaps to allow Rob Hamblin to introduce himself as well. And then I did see an email from Commissioner Fackrell about the term of the agreement, and perhaps that should be discussed, just given potential projects for the fairgrounds that the county has in mind. So Rob, if you're available, do you mind just introducing yourself and being available to answer any questions the commission has?
Yeah, no problem. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
So can you just tell them a little bit about yourself? I know that they had a pretty good relationship with Kyle because he'd been here for so long, and I thought if you can introduce yourself and maybe give a little background and what you plan to do, or is it the same as Kyle was doing or anything different?
Yeah, no problem. So again, thanks for having me here. My name is Robbie Hamblin. I grew up down in Provo, Utah, and I've been working on rivers for well over 15 years. I grew up just a stone's throw away from the Provo River, and I worked and managed the company there on the Provo River for a long time. I've known Kyle Hooker since I was a little kid, for well over 30 years. Good friend. He's actually kind of one of my outdoor enthusiast heroes. So we've been friends for a long time and been on many adventures together. I worked with him and for him a little bit over the years. And so the plan is to continue his legacy, not come in and change anything or stir any feathers with any residents or employees or anybody like that, just to keep things status quo. So that's our plan.
Any questions for Mr. Hamblin?
I don't have questions for him specifically, but with respect to the comment about the term, I can understand the desire to have the 5-year term, and I'm wondering if we could deal with the concerns about the park and or park expansion. I note in section 23 you have expansion of the premises, which obligates the county to renegotiate the agreement should lessee request a larger piece of land to lease. That sounds like an agreement to agree. I'm not sure that one would be specifically enforceable. But I do wonder if we could utilize that language and add to it a relocation right, such that if you were doing some improvements in that area and needed to relocate where they were putting in and putting out, that's what they use this for, right? That we could adjust as necessary to accommodate this use and facilitate the park improvements and expansion. That would be one way of handling it. The other way is to do a year-to-year lease, so that if we needed to make a change, we would be obligated through whatever the tubing season is in a given year or something, and then we would have to renegotiate for the next year based upon plans to change or modify the park. So those are a couple of ways of approaching that issue from my perspective.
Yeah, and I don't know if this pertains either, and even a little bit more forceful, I guess, but we had multiple contracts where it might be a 1 year or 3 year or 5 year, but there's also an out where you can say we're giving 30-day notice to not have this agreement anymore. And I don't know what would happen, or, you know, if something would come up where we would need to do that ever, but at least want some kind of an ability to get out of that agreement. Maybe similar to what you're saying, Commissioner McConnell, but my first thoughts were I'm very hesitant to go into a 5-year contract with no out. So
I'm going to add one more item. One of the things that we did when we looked at contracts for other properties recently was made sure that as part of our lease rates, we included an escalation for inflation. And I think we need to include that. I would suggest maybe like a 3% or CPI, whichever is greater, something of that nature. I think that's fair. That's what we did with the cell tower lease on the fairgrounds property. That's what we've done with the airport hangar leases as well.
How have we handled them during our fair time period?
We haven't really done anything different.
And it's all worked out.
It has, you know, if we start making changes to how we use some of that property, that may change. So I think that's another reason why we need to be careful about long-term agreement. But to my knowledge, there hasn't been any issue with them continuing with their business during fair time. I mean, we're crowded in the parking lot. We use every bit of it, but I don't think it's been an issue. I will note that this agreement does note that this is still public parking, so even though we're leasing space here, if we needed to have overflow parking for a rodeo, which would not really be during their operating hours anyway, that could be used for that, at least as I read it. Would you agree with that, Garrett?
I would.
I
think
just
we.
as- Go ahead.
I was going to say I think we can strike that paragraph 23. When Kyle came in last year to talk about it, the rent did go up, and they added that 50 feet. So it used to be 100 by 200, now it's 150 by 250 to allow for greater parking. I don't know if you recall that when he came in. And so I think that the 23 was in there from a prior agreement, anticipating that may expand. Robbie, do you intend to expand that parking? Would you be okay removing that paragraph 23 about expanding the premises?
Yeah, I was going to mention that because Kyle, the previous owner, did mention that did take place in previous years, so I'm totally fine striking that completely, number 23.
And then, do you have a preference for a longer term with a termination right or a shorter term? Because I think if we do a termination right, when you've got a seasonal business like this, I wouldn't want to terminate it on 30 days. I'd want to terminate, you know, upon not less than 30 days notice, the effective date being the end of the season, because they're counting on using the space for that period of time. And I don't think that's going to impact us. We'll have to plan around it, but it's not going to be a significant delay. And I think if we did that with we could even consider the relocation, and then either of those options from my perspective would work. And I don't know if it's best to let you negotiate with him and come back with whatever you ultimately agree on and they're comfortable with, or if you want to try to resolve it as part of this meeting.
Robbie, I'll defer to you on your thoughts on the term. The 5-year was just what was in the prior agreements, and I think it worked when there weren't plans for any expansion at the fairgrounds, but yeah, we haven't specifically talked about that.
Isn't it something, even if we expand, we would want in our county though?
Yeah, I think it's
so we would want to relocate an
I would think
area.
we'd want to accommodate and continue to, I mean, the more use you can get out of public property and funds to help facilitate the maintenance of it, the better off I think we are. Yeah.
If we do go to paragraph 1, it does say the parties agree that the location of the operation may be moved to a mutually agreed area at the Morgan County Fairgrounds. So there, that is written into paragraph 1, just anticipating that that may be needed. I don't think that negates the discussion that needs to take place on the term. It's just one of the things that's anticipated by the agreement.
Mr. Chair,
Yes,
may I ask a question?
absolutely.
Robbie, I just am curious as to where is your business entity located? And then I have a follow-up after that.
So yeah, the property is right there off of Round Valley Road, right at the edge of the fairgrounds, basically right next to the river, across from the new pickleball courts.
I think
Right.
he's
And it's-
asking
I think
the
it's-
legal entity, Robbie, where your legal
Oh, I'm sorry.
entity is, essentially where
Like-
you're paying taxes to.
Yes, that's correct.
Like, well, all the taxes are collected in Morgan County and paid to Morgan County. Is that's my understanding of it all?
Yes, that's the question I had.
Yeah, I don't live in Morgan, but it's all funneled to Morgan.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah.
And that is a change to the agreement. If you notice in paragraph 1, it says BFT Tubing LLC, and Kyle's entity was Barefoot, so he's taking the DBA, but he does have his own entity, but the taxes will still be collected and paid in Morgan County.
Okay, sounds good.
So I don't think the term, to me, is so, as long as we feel like we're gonna relocate and find an area for them, then I don't, and we give them till the next season. Because as a business owner, that's what I would want, I don't want to be told you're done. So I would want to be able to work something out, but we all move and change, and we might not be here, so I see why he would want a longer term too.
So I'm comfortable with that generally. I would probably strengthen this last sentence in section and make it, parties agree that the location of the operation may be moved to a location reasonably designated by Morgan County at the Morgan County Fairgrounds. Because I think it's probably the county that's going to be the one that needs to require the movement, not the tenant. And it would be odd for the tenant to be able to require movement. So generally speaking, I think we can utilize that relocation, right? Thanks for pointing that out, Garrett. And then I would just say, did you get that change?
I did, and I was going to suggest adding lessor will not move the location mid-season or something like that, because
Yep.
I think it would be difficult to move during
Yeah, I agree.
the floating season. So lessor shall provide no less than 30 days notice of changed location and shall not interrupt the floating season. Or I don't know, Robbie, do you have any, how do you describe your season?
Yeah, it's already mostly been touched on. Super seasonal. When we can start kind of depends on safe water levels. It's also dependent strongly upon warm weather. This year, for example, the river was high until about June 21st. And then we were able to kind of start operating. Obviously, July is the most popular month. August, the first few weeks, and then it all just dies down, and we've been closed for about a week now. So super seasonal. I would say it's about a 10 to 12 week window of operating the tubing. So June, July, August, a touch of September, maybe a touch of May if the water's safe.
Would it be safe to say generally between Memorial Day and Labor Day, something of that nature? I mean, sometimes
That
you
would
have
be-
a little bit after that or a little before, but
You could say we won't cause them to move between May 15th and September 15th of any year.
perfect.
Perfect.
One more question. Do you have the facility outside of Taggart's or in Taggart's that is, it was a rental area and I thought it was barefoot tubing? Do you know anything about
So
that?
I believe you are referring to Park City Rafting, which Kyle Hooker did own as well,
Okay.
up there on private property. That's been there for about 30 years now. And yes, I'm the new owner of that as well.
Good.
All right, so the last few sentences of paragraph 1 now reads, the parties agree that the location of the operation may be moved to a location reasonably designated by Morgan County, located at the Morgan County Fairgrounds. Lessor shall provide no less than 30 days notice of changed location and shall not require lessee to move locations between May 15th and September 15th.
That works for me.
Yes.
Robbie, what are your thoughts? Are you good with those changes?
I am, yeah, that sounds fabulous.
Robbie, have you made payment for 2024?
I have not. I'm planning on mailing that into you. I was just waiting for this meeting to take place and all that, so.
Okay, so I have under paragraph 3 that lessee shall pay lessor without demand the sum of $4,000 per year on or before July 1st, except in 2024 by October 1st. Is that a good date, or should I put it to the 15th?
No, that's no problem at all.
Okay.
October 1st is fine.
And then I think under rent would be where we address any inflation or CPI.
I would do like we did with, I think we did the same thing with the cell tower. We might have done.
We did it with the
4%.
airport.
We did it with the airport. I think we said 4% or CPI, whichever was greater. Or 3%.
I think it was 3. I'm not sure.
It was 3 in the airport, I think.
So I think that's what we probably ought to do is 3% or CPI.
Robbie, you good with that?
Yeah, sorry, I'm not quite sure what CPI means. I apologize.
Sorry, it's the consumer price index. So basically, if inflation goes crazy and inflation goes up 10%, then the increase would be more consistent with inflation rather than just a 3%. Although generally speaking, 3% is pretty normal.
And the 3% is of which number?
On your $4,000 rent number.
Okay.
It just helps keep us in a position where we don't get to a point where we're like, wow, we've really undervalued this lease and need to increase it significantly. We can do small increases over time.
Completely
So
understand.
$120 a year.
Gotcha.
And I have now removed paragraph 23. And so are there any other changes?
Just the CPI.
Okay.
So how would you like to handle this? Garrett, what's your thought? Do we want to put this to a vote and then you can make those adjustments and we'll sign it once that's done? Or would you prefer to make those adjustments and then bring it back for a vote?
So the only adjustments I've made so far are removing paragraph 23, what I read on paragraph 1, and now I'm just making that 3% or CPI, and I'll just borrow the language from the airport lease. So I'm comfortable moving forward. I think, Robbie, is it your preference we move forward tonight as well?
Yes.
Any concerns, commissioners? Okay. All right, with that, we'll look for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Morgan County Fairgrounds property lease agreement dated as of September 17th, 2024 by and between Morgan County as lessor and BFT Tubing LLC as lessee, with the modifications discussed as part of our meeting tonight.
Second.
A motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any approved? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. All right, moving to item number 3. Garrett, this is review of the County Commission rules and procedures.
All right. So on this one, I received an email from Commissioner Fackrell, which was very helpful because there were some inconsistencies that still existed from the prior council and before Kate was here as our administrative manager. So I have redlined those changes. If we go, I don't know who's controlling the document, but if we go to the next page, page 2, if we look under paragraph B, we have the 3 votes, and then it says at least 4 votes, which is just at the end of paragraph B, which is just residual from the prior council that had 7. So I've changed that to 3. If we go to page 3, the next page, down under Rule 3, updated the Morgan County Courthouse to the Morgan County Commission Chambers. I know a lot of people call this building the courthouse, but it's more specific to the Commission Chambers. And then also that the regular commission meetings start at 5 rather than 6, and work meetings at 4 rather than 5:30.
Do we even need to have a time in there?
I don't know that we need to, but I think that's pretty much the standard, at least for 3.5 years that I've attended.
And it does say unless otherwise calendared, so it could change.
And number 1, the following types of commission meetings that may be called and scheduled, so.
Yeah. All right. If we go down to page 7 now, under Rule 4, paragraph 5, there was a question about the roll call vote. We had removed some language there, and so I've readjusted the sentence to say voting shall take place by roll call vote only when requested by any member of the commission on any matter. And I think that that's just a little more clear about, we're not going to be doing it all the time, it's just by request, and that request can be made on any matter. If we go to Did you say number 9?
Number 9 on that same page.
Oh, let me go back up. Okay, so here, so at the conclusion of, so 7 is just talking about it.
Not abstention.
Right, not an abstention on any vote. They may state a point of privilege and explain why. On an abstention, sorry, it's just saying that you're basically encouraged, but you're still not required. But it's also not permissive as may. So it's just a little, it's kind of between may and shall to should. Like, you should explain why you're abstaining. Does that answer that question?
So you're saying that we should or we don't have to?
You should, but you still don't have to.
Okay.
So it's a little different than may. It's a little stronger than may, but not as strong as shall.
Okay.
But it doesn't have to be that way. That's just how it was written. And so if you want to change that, it can be quickly amended. Any thoughts?
I think it's fine. I think shouldn't be forced, but it should be encouraged to have a reason.
Okay. All right, and then if we go down to page 19 now, clerk to administrative manager. At the top of that, the first line there. And so items are going to be put on the agenda not by contacting the clerk anymore, it's going to be the administrative manager. So I think that resolves all the inconsistencies that were brought up.
Good, any other comments or questions on this item? Okay. Jared, I don't know, on some of these other items, we've advertised it as a resolution. This one we didn't advertise as a resolution. Is that necessary?
It's not necessary, so.
So we can vote on it as is.
Right, I guess we could renotice it if we wanted to be extra careful, but technically every decision that's made is a resolution unless it's an ordinance. And we used to not even have resolutions, we would just make an action, approve a contract, whatever it may be. Now we're shifting to doing that by resolution so we can track when it was done and what the resolution was, which I think is a better practice.
I do too.
So, not necessary, but we could if we think.
78?
Yeah.
So, a question before we do. I missed.
Oh, the 9:30.
Yeah,
Is that
9:30, the
okay?
ending time.
What number is that?
That's rule 7-7.
Okay. So this is on page 14. It does say the county commission meeting shall be scheduled to conclude at 9:30. There are times we've gone to 11 or 11:30 sometimes. I've never been here past midnight, but I hear the prior council did that at times. Maybe they started later, I don't know. But it does say a meeting may be extended by majority vote of the commission. So I don't know if that time frame needs to be changed, but if we get to that point, we can always vote to extend as well.
Yeah, I think it shall be at 8.
I do like the idea of encouraging a time frame and not encouraging it to go really late into the night.
And I think that does give the chair some, the chair may say, okay, like we've spent X amount of time. I know sometimes we have presentations on complex things like a PID, for example, and there were hours and hours that was being discussed and everything, and it may be a reason to say, well, our meeting ends at 9:30, we need to move on, or we need to just, try to summarize what's being discussed so that it doesn't just keep going. So I can see it both ways, but
It doesn't lock us in fully.
right, it just requires you to vote to extend it.
Well, and the 9:30 time was originally established with later start times.
I think that was at the 6 o'clock meetings.
Yeah, so I think it's fine. It's a good guideline.
I'm fine with it. I was just
Point out
curious.
that it's not always.
Well, I
clear
just
to you.
I just don't want to have to stop at if we've got an important thing we're doing at 9:30 and all of a sudden it's midway through it and we have to go and vote to extend it at that moment when it's going to be finished in 5 minutes.
And it does say, provided all scheduled public hearings have been concluded. So if it's a public hearing, we wouldn't be disrupting that. It would be more of our administrative items.
I'm fine with
Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns? If not, we'll look for a motion on CR 24-78.
I'll make a motion that we approve CR 24-78 with all the red-lined changed items that our attorneys recommended.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, moving to item number 4.
I guess my question on this is, how does this affect new commissioners?
Let
are
me
we choosing for
let me
or-
first before you begin, if it's okay.
Okay.
Sure.
As you know, I've been very passionate in this county about getting things accomplished. So I've been serving for over 3.5 years plus, and it's been an honor to serve. And so today, for health-related reasons and personal reasons, I believe it is best for myself and the county to step back for the time being from being vice chair and all of my portfolios that I serve on right now. And I ask that we, no, I'm not leaving the commission, that we appoint a new vice chair and my positions on the portfolio for a time being, for a period of time undetermined until later time.
Okay. To your question, Matt, no, because there's no, we'll decide on portfolio assignments at the first of the year like we always do, and you may have an assignment that you'd like to see if somebody else would like to do. They may have, we've got one of our incoming commissioners here. He may want to do something that we only have one commissioner on currently, and we add a second. Like there's certainly opportunity to make that change. So yes, we can do that. That doesn't lock anybody into any assignments.
Plus, at that time, I can possibly come back if things are going okay.
Okay. So
Help me with the black and the red.
So the red, from what I can tell, show where there's multiple commissioners assigned, and the black are where only one commissioner is assigned. So under Mike has Fair Board, Fairgrounds in red, and then we look over at Matt's, his second one down is the same. And so that's just showing that multiple are on those portfolios already. So there are 4 that are unassigned, it looks like. IT, Water, Extension, American Land Council.
May I suggest on IT, since Kate is now here, we really don't need somebody over.
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, we could probably remove it.
Water advisory. Commissioner Anderson, I know you're on Weber Basin's board. I don't know if that would be a conflict or complementary.
I don't know either. And maybe you could help Commissioner Facker on that. Who do you meet with?
That one, there has really not been anything going. Okay, and so that's a position like where I have been working on the possible regional plan down in Mountain Green. That would be somebody that could do that. There's a lot to it. There's some grants there that you can possibly look into, seeing whether or not there's anything we can do in the county. They give us some help and everything else for that.
How often does the Extension Services meet?
They don't. It's just been me checking in on them and seeing if they need any help. That's all it's been.
And that's with
Amanda. And Sarah
Okay.
and Nicole. And the other one.
I'd be happy to do that.
And then what's American Land Council?
That's the one where you are basically you meet with them once in a while if they request your help. That's all it is. And it has to do with the paper I gave you this afternoon that we need to talk about during commissioner comments. That I will, unless Jerry brings it up from the board meeting the other night.
They're the ones that do a lot with the public lands, right?
Yes, it's all
and
public
we
lands.
donate to them.
We donate to that.
I don't know that we do a whole lot of work with them other than supporting the counties down south.
Right. And with the other thing that we'll be discussing, the resolution.
So, if Kate were to take IT, Jared Water Advisory, Matt Extension Services, and I took American Land Council, would we just each continue in the ones that we share with Blaine but have sole responsibility?
I think the only ones we'd have to worry about then would be just for the WFRC items that we need to.
Yes, because there's more than just those.
Yeah, and you're primary on some of those, and we just need to make sure that the secondary is attending those.
So you've got WFRC, Transcom, JPAC, WFEED, the Economic Development, but since you're over Economic Development, that would be part of yours.
Isn't Transcom the active transportation?
No.
That's
There's
different?
Active Transportation and Transcom. Transcom is the one where you're working with Carlos Braceros and working on our transportation projects throughout the state. And that's also what JPAC is too. Different ones. One you're meeting with Brad D. and Rhonda Menlove with the Transportation Committee for the state, and there are Northern Region representatives. And then there's also the chamber, but that's part of whichever one you want it to be, economic development, tourism, and there's also that's about it. Might be some more things, but I can let you know.
So, let's reassign, sounds like we've got reassignments on the ones that are not shared. The WFRC ones are the only ones of any concern, but we do have backups on those WFRC committees already. Does anybody have a concern that's a current backup on those with fulfilling that?
One thing with WFRC, we've been working with the city. The city already is an alternate on those. So if you're not able to, then you can have them do it for you.
That's right, because these are COG assigned.
These are COG assigned.
Okay. Maybe that's an option. We could go back to COG, Jared, at the next meeting and see if they are good with that or if they need us to make some reassignments.
Okay.
Does that work on the WFRC items?
Sir, I'm just looking on my calendar. There's not a WFRC transportation or active transportation meeting in the balance of September, right?
Right. It's in October. I can give you the list.
If you'll just send the, I see the active transportation on the 8th. What's that?
8th of October.
Yep.
It's not the 8th. I'll have to give you a list.
Okay, send me
The
when those
WFE.
meetings are.
WFED is on the 17th of October in the afternoon.
And then the information I need on American Land Council.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll move the IT department under Kate, which is really already that way. Water advisory to Jared, extension to Matt, American Lands Council to Robert, WFRC. We'll check on with COG for those alternates. And anybody else that's an alternate on those will confirm that, and that takes care of all of those, I believe. Any concerns, questions? Okay. All right, with that, we'll look for a motion on those updates.
I'll make a motion that we amend the 2024 portfolio assignments for county commissioners, reassigning Commissioner Fackrell's portfolio assignments as follows: the IT department to be managed by Kate Becker, Water Advisory by Jared Anderson, Extension Services, let's see, that's Matt Wilson. I'm American Land Council, and then the Wasatch Front Regional Council committees. The alternates will step into the primary position. Does that
And
cover it?
Any others that are currently shared will just fall under the other commissioner.
Okay, and any other shared assignments will be completed by the sharing commissioner.
Second?
A motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. Thank you. Okay, let's move to our commissioner comment periods, and we'll start with
Mike.
Yes.
Did you want to go with the vice chair or not?
We did not notice that,
Oh, okay.
and I think we have to notice that. Garrett, would you agree with that?
Yes, so I think that can come to the next meeting, which is October 1st, and then at that point, there can be some thought on vice chairs, and nominations can be made at that point, and we'll notice it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Commissioner Anderson.
It's a lot to discuss, but nothing to really a resolution. We had our UAC board meeting, and the majority of the time, well, a lot of the time of discussion was discussed about Amendment B. So it didn't feel like with all the discussions we had, there were so many different opinions of understanding of Amendment D, what it meant, and we actually asked from they had a, I can't remember the attorney group, and the actual attorney group that discussed it with us, and we asked them to give us a little write-up. I haven't seen it yet, but just a little write-up of their understanding of Amendment D, so that UAC as a group can decide if they want to support that or not. So that was the majority of the discussion that we had in that board meeting. I know it lasted longer than any other board meeting, so. We had, I just got it in the email, I want to say today or yesterday, but talking about the public lands, but they're asking for contributions. And I haven't talked yet with Brandy and how it all worked and looked and how but they're asking for contributions on public lands and how they're working through that. I don't have an update on that yet. I just need to understand where the amount came from and why, so I can present it to you guys next commission meeting. I did not end up going to the UAC meetings in Provo, so I don't have any updates on what happened there. Besides that, I think that's all I have.
Thank you. I don't have anything specific. Commissioner Fackrell picked up some documents from UAC regarding options for county employee phone plans that go through UAC, and there could be some savings here. So I'll provide a copy of this to Kate and to Jeremy so they can look at that as they manage those plans and see if there's some options there that'll be good for us.
Sorry, Chair, can I just add on to that? I think every time we meet, there's a new opportunity. So maybe for any of the county staff or employees that are interested to contact UAC, because it seems like they've always got deals, I guess. So.
Yeah, and you can add up to 10 lines on one account, so you could add your whole family. If it's T-Mobile, it's $20 a month. If it's AT&T, it's $25 a month. That's unlimited premium data, voice and text, no contract, no activation fees. You can bring your device and phone number from your current plan, so it's a pretty good deal. Oh, and the first month is free. on all of those.
So what's AT&T?
$25 per line.
Really?
Yeah, it's really pretty cheap. So. Anyway, we'll make sure that that's available. Maybe we need to send that out across our employees if they'd like to take advantage of that. In fact, maybe we ought to work through Casey. That'd be good. Outside of that, I don't have anything more. Commissioner Fackrell.
Well, there was a lot of things that happened, but the two things, well, there's a lot that happened. And I will be trying to send a email out to everybody on all the different things. However, two of them that happened, and this is the one that I know Jared probably missed. They talked about it on the first day, and that was about the UAC Housing Foundation, where they are going to put a certain percentage of funds, or requesting from those counties a certain percentage of funds to go into a UAC Housing Foundation that will actually come back to, it will be in a pool. And we don't have all the insight on it yet. They're going to give that to us. But it's to help us with employee housing potentially, with our affordable housing, all those kinds of things that they've been talking about forever. And anyway, it's just something that will come out, and we'll get more notice about it probably at USAC. Okay. And the other item, and this is the part I wanted to read to you, and I'll hand this over to Robert. And this is an urgent call to action in support of Utah versus the U.S. The American Lands Council urges state and local governments and other organizations to file amicus briefs or co-sign with American Lands Council amicus brief in support of the landmark public lands lawsuit Utah filed at the U.S. Supreme Court on August 20th, 2024. Broad, swift, and serious support is needed ASAP to persuade the court to accept the case. And this is the thing they wanted us to make sure and let everybody know. This is just to allow the Supreme Court to accept the case. It's not to do all the other stuff that goes along with it. It's just to have them accept it. And I don't understand all the legal stuff you two do. But, so if we want to, this, any amount will help to do that amicus brief, or we can do our own.
Is that so we can retain our state lands?
That's so that we can.
Federal government take them?
That's so that we can get any of the 18.5 million acres that are in the state of Utah, including some in our county, that are unappropriated lands. In other words, they're not appropriated for anything, any purpose, and that we can get them to retain or to be back into the hands of the state of Utah. And so all they're wanting them to do is to hear the case. Then at that point, they have already with the Public Lands Council some of those things, what they plan to do with it, but that is not the point of the case. The case is just to hear the case. Because you don't always get heard just because you want to be there.
Yeah.
And so that was that. And then and of course we got the thing taken care of with the SB 174 finally. And we had some discussion on Tuesday, on the day 2 of the event, where we had some discussions on the TRT monies and other taxes. The taxes, one of the items that I have been trying to move forward, and we had a discussion on it finally, and that is to have, instead of just a restaurant tax, but to have a consumer tax, a consumption tax, which would mean instead of just having restaurants be penalized to collect it, we're going to have everybody that serves prepared foods to be not penalized, because it's the consumer that's going to take it. They're the ones that are, it's just that the businesses are going to have to file it. And by doing so, that will bring in more monies to each county by having that consumer tax. and the legislators that were there at this meeting were very much in favor of it. They just needed somebody to spearhead it and go forward with it and work on it. So anyway, you can ask me questions if you'd like later on that. The CCJC, they're looking for multi-year funding, and I think you're already involved in that, right, Robert?
No, I am.
Oh, you are? Okay. So it has to do with those coordinating councils and all that kind of stuff. And you can talk with Steve Hunter if you want more information. And we had a big discussion on AI. And there was a lot with it. And that's there was two other questions that they asked in our legislative meeting with them. If we wanted to get our own rural county health care, we could. We just have to go out and look at the grants that are available, along with having especially since we have 2 state parks, we are eligible. And it's from the Kempsey Gardner Company. They were the ones that were explaining this to us. And the last item was the advantages of a 5-member commission versus a 3-member commission and 7-member councils. And so they were discussing that. We, as a Morgan, since we're the only ones in the state with a 5-member commission, they will be asking us for our pros and cons with that. So just start thinking of some of the pros and cons of having a 5-member commission, because they will be discussing that with us.
Can I just make an update to that comment? There's multiple 5 commission member councils.
No.
And this
According
is
to
from
them, there wasn't.
Okay. This is from the legislator who's actually running the bill to try and push to be a 5-member for every county. So I talked to that individual, and they did say that there's multiple, and I can get you that list. I just want to make sure we're careful on how we're saying that.
Is the difference council versus commission? Is
Yeah,
that maybe-
because there's 5-member councils,
Is this
and there's
the
also
five-member council?
Council versus commission.
And there's also one commission that's a 7-member commission, and that's one of the problem areas of the state right now. I won't say who.
Well, I
except
think
in
there's
private.
always been a problem, I would guess, throughout history, just having 3 as far as it just takes a one.
So Davis County was one of them that were requesting more information on it. Utah County, these are bigger counties too.
Both 3.
They're both 3, and they want fair representation. So they were asking us about what makeup a 5-member commission would have, and of course I spoke up and told them that I think the best way is the way we have it, which is a 3 districts and 2 at large. And I think they were happy. A lot of them were happy with that. There was a lot of discussion around that. We had almost a 2-hour discussion on all these different legislative things we want to try to get accomplished this next year.
Excellent, thank you. Commissioner McConnell.
So I'm surprised that the American Lands Council is located in Alton, Utah. You go by Alton on the way to Lake Powell, between that 14 Junction and Canal.
That's little.
It's very little. Anyway, with respect to an amicus brief, so I know the state filed the lawsuit. Have we been asked to participate in any way by the state?
Not that I'm aware of yet, but they may send out an email.
Okay. I mean, I'd take your recommendation on how to move forward. I would probably join one unless you guys really want to prepare your own amicus brief for the Supreme Court for fun.
I think we'd probably join one after we review it and make sure we agree with it.
Yeah. Okay.
I was going to say, they have something on the back of that discusses that.
Oh, it's a resolution,
It's a resolution.
as to what we would do.
Yes. And so it was asked to us by the Director of Public Lands in the state of Utah, Plitko. And so,
I mean, I don't have any problem supporting the state in the action. I think it's a reasonable, I mean, frankly, I don't think they should have had to take it this far. The federal government shouldn't control as much land as they do in the state. But I'll scan this and send it to you.
Okay, thank you.
The YCC Summer Soiree is Thursday night. If any of you would like to attend, I think they still have plenty of opportunities for you to do so. We have had some discussion about the airport overlay ordinance, and particularly the Airport Advisory Board. And I spoke to Joe Garfield, the airport manager. His recommendation was that we really didn't need an airport advisory board now that it's kind of fully developed, and I tend to disagree with that. I don't think it needs to be as large as it is. He said, all right, well then just pilots, so we just talk about airport operations, and I'm like, no, I think we need to have involvement from residents, but I do think it is primarily operational, and so they're going to be bringing that back for our consideration. I'm going to recommend that in terms of the drafting that we do a 3-person board, 2 airport or pilots and 1 non-pilot. But you guys can be thinking about that for purposes of that discussion and what you might recommend. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Wilson.
I guess first of all, I'd like to report that the water levels in Lake Powell are pretty good. And that's a portfolio assignment I don't want to be taken off of. I'll make sure I go down there twice a year and check that.
That's good. That's important.
I was the alternate last week, at least, and it was a delightful temperature as well.
On a more serious note, I was hoping Josh would be here tonight. I had Jeff from Shadow Creek reach out to me, and Josh, I had reached out to Josh too, and he asked me to get his thread of emails so I could see what was going on there. The chairman had, their concern is that they have to go through all the Weaver Health stuff before they can start developing their lots, and it's going to really put them behind, so they were hoping to be able to start at least some infrastructure on their own, being liable, or whatever the word is, that they would take the liability of it not being approved by the health department if that, and Commissioner Newton thought that there was thought we had something in our ordinances that would allow people to go forward with some infrastructure, but I couldn't find it, but I'm not that good at that stuff, so.
So is the question similar to what we did with Lee's Market? Is that kind of, because I think there have been other developers that have made that similar request, which is prohibited by our code, but there is a state code that allows for a temporary land use regulation, but there has to be a countervailing, compelling countervailing public interest, which the Lee's Market, which is servicing so many, that's kind of arising to that level of the compelling a subdivision.
So I think what they
hasn't
wanted to
risen
proceed
to
with
that.
was installing their road
Roads.
infrastructure. And I don't know that has bearing on whether the lots themselves are approved or not. I mean, if they install a road and then the lots aren't fully approved for septic, I guess
Right.
they don't have lots, but they may have a nice road through the middle of a farm. I don't know that that's fully prohibited, but maybe I'm wrong. And
Yeah, I think Josh would
That's why I
probably
think Josh
know
would be
that a
best
little
to-
bit more. He should be back in the office tomorrow. I did.
yeah, they
have
weren't like asking,
conversation
hey,
with
can
him
we build
today.
homes or anything like that.
Okay.
It was road infrastructure.
So this is a little bit of a tangent on this, but I don't know if it pertains or not. You can have seen it where, and maybe we can use any subdivision, it doesn't matter, but they come in and say, okay, we're planning on 100 lots and we're going to have water infrastructure. And maybe they've gone to the water company and said, will you serve? And they said, yeah, we'll serve, but we need a tank, we need a well, we need a, and so we say, great. And that infrastructure is not in place. But because that company says, yeah, the developer says they're gonna put it in place, then we're good. So I guess I'm also a little bit concerned that hopefully those two don't overlap at all, because we
And-
actually do approve subdivisions
Right.
with people saying, yeah, as long as you build it.
So Heather Meadows is a perfect example where it's apples and oranges to a water system versus wells. And so that's where the wet well requirement comes from. And when, anyway, I would just say, let's make sure we're following the code, because we went down some paths that caused a lot of issues in the future. And so I'm heading out to training tomorrow, but maybe after you talk to Josh too, you could even call me.
And maybe
I'll
he
have
can
my
send me
phone
those
and-
emails.
Yeah, if that takes place, I think we can work that out. I would just caution sometimes the code doesn't make sense when we're looking at one issue, but based on how things have played out in the history of the county, it's like, okay, there's a reason for the code and a reason that we require certain things at certain points. And so that's just a caution I'd throw out. Doesn't mean that we can't look at it a lot closer and make sure that we're reading the code appropriately.
So just looking at the planning commission meeting recently, does that include sewer and water then from a Weber Morgan Health Department perspective? So I guess if there is concern with how the sewer's gonna work and operate and or water's gonna work and operate, because I think there's some locations in the county where you really can't get water. It's very difficult to get water. And likewise, there could be maybe if you're next to a river, I don't know, maybe there's some areas where you just can't get septic to work. So
Right.
what our code then, I guess I'm kind of being a little, so does the code then say we need to understand that ahead of time before you come in and ask?
If you can show proof of wet water, that kind of, before you build all these lots and then you drill and you find no water, it's like for a preliminary application, and like I said, I'm not the zoning administrator, but I have had some conversations with Josh. If they're coming in with the application, usually with they have to provide a will serve if there's a water company, because then, they don't have to put in the infrastructure at that point, but show that there is water. When there's no water company, that's what the wet water is for, is to say, well, if we move forward and now we've graded everything, we have the roads, we've done these things, and now when we get to the point of drilling wells and there's no water in the area, that's the concern.
Right.
So
It's a legitimate concern.
yeah, so the wet water is kind of like a will serve when there's no water company, to just say, hey, before we build everything out, let's make sure that there's water.
I was just gonna say, I think this particular case, it sounded like they wanted to work on road infrastructure. Well, I think they'd have to understand that they might be building a really nice road in a field that never gets subdivided at their own risk. If for some reason the wells because the subdivision itself can't happen. But I think a road itself could happen. You could elect to build a really nice road through your farm, even if that road went nowhere, right? But it's at your own risk.
Right. And we do have some at-risk forms that are used for certain grading and things of that
Well, and I
nature.
worry about the at-risk too. How's the section of the road? Is the design of the road according to our
That's true.
standards?
But you'd
Are
have to
we
follow
gonna have
all
an
of that,
inspector
yeah.
out
If
there
that's-
making
if you
sure
want the county to take it
compaction,
over.
density, I mean,
Yeah, if they start building a road and we haven't been doing inspections all along, then there may be boring or, whatever else to show after the fact.
Are
Yeah,
they
they might
looking
have
to
to pull it
record
out.
a plat?
Hmm?
And are they looking to record a plat?
I don't know where they're at in the process, so.
'Cause
They
the
haven't
other thing that
submitted a
happens when you
preliminary
record a
plat
plat
yet.
is it authorizes them to start selling lots, and I would not let them.
They don't
start-
want to sell lots, because that's what would end up with Heather Meadows. That's where it would end up like that.
So
But
that's.
I
mean,
think they just, if you've worked with Weber Morgan Human Services, it's not an easy or fun or fast process.
And we'll just clarify health department, because human services.
Oh, yeah, health department,
Yeah,
sorry.
health department.
It's a hard process, and it take a year sometimes. to work through that whole process. So they're just like, goodness gracious, this is going to go forever if we can't do something during this time period that they're going to make us jump through all these hoops.
Well, and I hear the hoop comment a lot. I just want to make sure. I think there can be. I think they have procedures in place because of issues that have come up in the past.
Sure.
So it does. I think processes
Due
of
diligence
procedures-
is probably the
and
correct
process
term.
of procedures can be quicker, but also I don't know if I wouldn't agree with the comment of hoops per se. I'd rather just say, well, you really need to follow what's been set in place.
So it's a
because there's
slow
been-
process. How's that?
Yeah.
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 It's a slow process.
I think it's a detailed process because it is such an important part of the development stage.
Yeah, compared to 50 years ago, not even close. So.
Okay, and then I guess the only other two quick things I have, the Morgan Cares had their rendezvous last night, and it was amazingly well attended. If you didn't get there at 6 or before, you didn't get dinner. They served 500 people really fast. In 20 minutes, it was over. But they had tons of participation, fun drawings, had a band there, the Morgan band, not like Sticks or anything. But it was a good time.
And he followed up by Boston.
It was fun. it was, and Kate Dickman just has got a ton of energy and does a great job with those kids. It's pretty amazing. And I guess the last thing, my wife, just a little bit concerned about our community having to protect our children from predators and stuff. I don't know if you guys have heard the little thing that happened over here at somebody tried to lure some kids over to give them some donuts, and that's just a little scary to me, and I think it's going to happen more and more, and I think we need to be, as a community, aware of those things. You know, we kind of tested 2 of our grandkids, and one passed. I said, "Get out of here, you creepy creature." That was a 4-year-old. But my 5-year-old grandson said, "Well, yeah." So he would have been right in the back of the truck getting a donut. And that's scary to me. I think human trafficking is a big, big production now, and I think rural communities are going to get targeted a little bit. I know Camas had an incident too, not just last week or something. So we just need to be aware. Our department our sheriff's department needs to be aware, and we need to keep an eye out for our kids because it's a great community to be able to walk to and from school and stuff. So
That's it. We should mention the Lee's grand opening Thursday. at
Yes.
10 o'clock. There were a lot of cars there today. I wondered if they were doing a soft opening, but it might have just been people in finalizing the preparations, training.
There is one more thing
Okay.
that I thought we could follow up on. So at the Planning Commission meeting, they assigned 3 planning commissioners to the working group for the 9 Springs. And so I thought if we could do that and just maybe, I don't know if there's volunteers or if you want to designate or how you want to go about doing that, just so that we can keep moving that project along as swiftly as we can.
Do you have any concerns with those members potentially changing at the first of the year? I mean, if we assign a couple of commissioners now and then they change, is there any concern with that?
I think that there is a little bit of a concern if it does delay the process. I think we just want to be as consistent as we can. Now, that doesn't mean if it makes the most sense. For example, Commissioner McConnell's over the Mountain Green area and has more connections, and then if Raylene were able to maybe attend those meetings as a non-commissioner so she's up to speed on everything.
That's kind of what I was thinking. It makes sense to me to have the person that oversees that area be involved in that,
Right.
Sure. And I guess I want to make it clear, even though we designate a commissioner to be there, that doesn't mean we can all be there. We can all attend.
The problem with that would be the quorum. Well, I mean, I guess we're,
If you're not making
As
decision, I guess
residents?
you could. You could attend as a. The discussion.
okay.
Could you come up and state your name, please?
So, so that being said, Robert, is that something you're interested in fitting in? Would you prefer one of us do that? What's your thought?
I think there probably should be two of us. I'm happy to take one of the spots.
I'd be happy to do one as well, just because I've been through the process twice before with Snow Basin with WPR. Unless there's somebody else that feels strongly about it.
I'd like to know when they are, because I wouldn't mind.
And we haven't scheduled. I mean, nothing's been scheduled to my knowledge. Do you know of anything?
No,
being
just because I
scheduled?
think we were establishing who's on it, and then we can start coordinating
And I'll
the
attend it
meetings.
next year too. So, yeah, I
Perfect.
think it's pretty important. So.
Okay. Well, we'll plan on that.
Okay.
All right. Anything else? Not. We'll look for. Well, I can declare it adjourned, can't we?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you.
And I'd like to note that